I'm excited to be here with you today. We've got Tyiwanna Carter, the inventor and founder of the OrVac, with us from LaunchLane Accelerator. Let's talk a little bit about your company and why you started it.
Well, hello. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Well, I invented the OrVac originally for my mom. It's a suction device for people with swallowing disorders. I witnessed her having difficulty eating while swallowing while eating. She was literally turning a different shade. And I thought it had to be a better solution. And when I couldn't find one, I created it. It's a suction device that she can hold for herself and suction out the excess saliva before choking on it while she's eating.
Yeah, and that seems like a very necessary tool to have. It's kind of, I remember the first time that you were talking about OrVac, thinking, wow, this doesn't already exist. It's
I felt the
shocking.
same way.
Yeah, it's so shocking. And when you applied to LaunchLane in the fall, uh, what were you hoping to get out of the accelerator?
Because I'm a sole founder, and I work solo all the time. Really, I was looking to get, besides the money, I was looking to get the camaraderie of other founders and the mentorship throughout the program. Um, um, because when you don't have the resources and don't necessarily, because it's a medical device. This product was on my one day when I win the lottery, I could develop it. But luckily, I found accelerator programs, and they can give you the mentorship. Then you're around people that are in the same spot that you're in, and we can knock on doors and ask experts like you and Nestor and Aaron and Eamon. I mean, to have access to all those experts is invaluable.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think accelerators and incubators are just an amazing thing to be a part of, both as a participant and as an advisor. It's just it's just a really great environment, especially with what we're doing with the Science Center and LaunchLane specifically. Um, but I mean, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had? Because it is a medical device, and I know that's tough.
It's way tougher than I thought. I'm from the old school. You think of it, you patent it, then you find a manufacturer to manufacture it. If it doesn't work, okay, you sell off the excess inventory to Jomar or Foreman Mills to get the money back to pay back the people that you do it. But when you're dealing with a medical device, there are other elements that you have to, the steps that you have to go through because it takes more money. A bank is not going to give you money because you're unproven, and so it is very challenging with a medical device. You definitely need help, and the biggest thing is to know to ask for that help. So the biggest challenge is say, okay, do I ask, is this stupid, should I know this, should I just look it up on Google, versus saying, no, it's time to pick up the phone and call someone and ask them, well, what do you do? But if you don't have those resources, you can't make those calls. So that was a big challenge with a medical device, was knowing the different steps, like FDA clearance. I didn't know about FDA clearance, but now I do. You can't just put it in Walmart. You need a durable equipment manager or distributor. So there are different elements that you have to go through with a medical device. So
Yeah,
that
the
was a big.
FDA approval, that's huge, and I know it can take some time to get to that point. And in the past, one of the other programs that I've worked with, we've walked people through that process as well. And uh, I mean, sometimes you really have to look well beyond your current location to find access to programs like LaunchLane or programs in general that can give you funding and assistance with FDA approval, because it takes a lot of effort. I give you a lot of credit for taking on that challenge. I think you've got it
Thank
in you.
Thank you. Well, it was for a good cause. I mean, my mom really needs the product, and my previous versions was just too complicated for her to change by herself. She's paralyzed, only has the use of one arm, so it needed to have something that she could not have to worry about finding an off and on switch, something that she could pick out and something she could change on her own. Um, so that is part of that is a big motivation, and also the challenge of, you're not going to stop me. I'm going to do it. I may not do it the way you want me to do it, but it will get done. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I think that's the right attitude to have, and that's one of the reasons why you've made it this far to get into an accelerator, because I think that people who have the right attitude and the right vibe about them to actually go out and get things done is those are the people who get accepted into programs like this. And I think that's important for people to know that they have to really be a doer. You can't just you can't just have a great idea. An idea is not enough. You have to take action and actually move forward with it. And even with the challenges, still have that attitude of it's gonna get done,
Hmm.
regardless.
Hmm.
I think that's exciting.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited. I can't believe and it is luck, but it is hard work too. I mean, I put in the time going to, if it was a pitch event somewhere, I was there. If there was a panel, I was there. If it was, especially if it was free, I was there. I think I went to so many panels that people thought I was just there for the food, but all of that was watching and learning and seeing how other people pitch, seeing what they talk about on a panel, and getting to meet people in the audience. I got an attorney through that. I got contacts for the other accelerators that I've been part of, just by just showing up.
How do you mentioned having multiple versions of your product? How do you work through iteration as a solo founder?
In a past life, I must have been an engineer because I love it. I mean, the first one was an $8 air pump, some glue, hot glue, and tape, and baby bottles and tubing that we plugged to my mom, and it was just crazy, but it worked. And she used it, and that was the biggest thing. Like, oh my, and they let us on a plane because that was the whole thing. She was not going to be sitting next to me. So I needed something small enough to fit in her wheelchair. And lo and behold, they let that on the plane back then. And it worked. And then I found a pimple extractor in the dollar store of all places. And I thought, oh, I can make that smaller and tape the pimple thing to the bottle, and now it can fit in one cup. And all she had to do was flip it on with the one hand and then bring it instead of digging around it. I mean, it was, when you need to fix something and you see an improvement, normally you do. I equate my inventions to kids, and they're in different stages. And so, okay, well, now you're crawling, now you're walking, now you're in school, and then you're gonna go to college, and then you're gonna buy mama a house. So, so
Have you ever invented anything before this? Is this
oh my
something
goodness,
that you've always liked to do, or is this just the first invention you've had?
this is the first invention that made it past the front door. I should say. I've invented a lot of things. I've created a lot of things, and normally you once I've created it, I kind of like, okay, well, that's done. I move on to the next thing. And someone years ago did pay me a compliment and said, you know why you do that? And I'm like, no. He said, you're an engineer. You just like to build it, fix it, and then you move on. So, yeah, my basement is full of other things that I've done and just haven't made it out the front door.
That's it's funny because I do that a lot too. So I totally get that, and I see that being a part of my future, which is why I'm currently trying to clear out my basement now, because God only knows what's going to be in there in the in the next 10 years. The way that I start something and put stuff away, but I think it's good to be creative. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be an inventor. Actually, there was a period of time where I used to draw out all kinds of crazy things, and I never took that to actually building something until I started working in web development and design, and that was the first time that I started doing that. But enough about me. I'm real curious right now to know how you're dealing with the pandemic, and has that shifted any of your priorities for the business?
Yes, that damn pandemic. I mean, I was real, like I said, I was really looking forward to the camaraderie of being around different entrepreneurs, having a place to get out and go, and so that's the one. But then also, I'm at the beta process, and that means I'm building out my first actual product to look exactly and work exactly like I want it to work and professionally done. But then the pandemic hit, and all the warehouses and all the engineers have shifted their duties, and gratefully, that they shifted their priorities to making face masks and shields and um, 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 medical covers. And I'm grateful for that. But that does throw a wrench in my program, that I'm unable to move forward with my beta at this point. In some ways, the pandemic has helped because we have video calls now, and I don't have to get on a plane and go to California to meet with someone. I can just dial them up. So you take the good with the bad.
Yeah, there's always some kind of upside, and the video. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy because I actually was just giving another company this advice maybe a week ago. They were asking about doing virtual pitch events, and I was like, you know what? Hey, you might have access to more investors than you did before virtually, just because now people don't have to fly across the country to be able to watch these pitches. And I think that as somebody who organizes these types of programs and events, I think that going forward, I'm gonna do a little bit more to make sure that things are a little bit more accessible, because I think that the more accessible we make pitch events, um, the more accessible it'll be for people to get funding from all over the place, and we don't have to beg people to come in to Philly. Although I would like to see more investors here, physically in Philly. At least if we can get them virtually, that'll be good for now. I'll be
Yeah,
happy with that.
and especially for hardware products, because mine is not, what is it called, a SaaS? What is it? Software as a service. It's not a software company. Is We're physically making a product, so tooling has to be purchased. You have to buy the materials to make it, and so it can get expensive. And for a long time, it felt that Philadelphia was becoming more like the Silicon Valley of the East. And when you told them you were actually physically making a product, it was like, ugh. So another reason why I was so happy that Launch Lane, that you all created this accelerator program, because it helps out people with hardware products, and which a lot of places don't.
Yeah, no, it's very difficult. I know there are a lot of really interesting people right now that are working on hardware products here in Philly. And there are also people working on creating more of a manufacturing community locally. So I hope that starts to come to light for people in the future, because we really need to be able to manufacture these things here. And thankfully, we have organizations like NextFab. I'm sure there are other fabrication labs here as well, but those really do make a difference when you're trying to make a physical product. If you can go and 3D print something and have it within a day. I mean, in China, there are already co-working spaces and coffee shops where people can go and build their prototype within 24 hours. And I think that's amazing. Yes, definitely in Shenzhen, and I hope that we can get more of that here. I That's one of my personal interests, is finding ways for people who want to do a hardware project to have access to 3D printing and things like that in a way that's a little bit more just easy to get to. I mean, NextFab is there, and they do really amazing things. They have great spaces, but for people who maybe don't have the money to join a NextFab but have a really great idea, I'd love to see 3D printing getting into more of these community centers around the city, and maybe the library. If the library does not, the library has a lot of stuff, way more stuff than people think. You'd
Oh,
be
yeah, I love the
surprised.
library. I love the library. Hmm. I
Yeah,
do.
I
I
feel
love it,
like
and it's
most
free.
of Yeah, and it's free. Most of the resources that I used when I was younger were the library actually, and I still use the free library's website right now to find books while I'm stuck at home all these weeks. So I encourage people to go out and kind of take on the same attitude that you've already shared. You know, go out and just do it. Go to events, go meet people, go to the library, get resources. There's a lot you can get for free, and I feel
There's
like a lot of people don't realize that. How do you find these events that you go to?
like I said, I love the library. I always have. And their business center. I mean, that's a co-working space by itself. So once everyone is able to go back out, I encourage everybody to visit the library, especially the main library on what's that, on Vine Street on the Parkway. It's a beautiful building and everything is there. And their website is very inclusive. They can even break it down to neighborhoods. So a lot of the events I find on their website. Eventbrite on the ticketing, all the ticketing sites. If you simply put in pitch or even free or networking, or all of them, they come up in your area and you can pick and choose. And like I said, especially when you're working solo, just to get out of the house and meet other people is so important. It's so important for you because you never know who you might run into.
Yeah, it's true. You never know who you'll run into. And when you go out and you let people know what you're working on, I feel like Philadelphia's startup community and just Philadelphia in general is super friendly, and people are excited to tell other people about the things that they learn about. For for me, when I first started going to local events, I did the same thing. I was going on Eventbrite and Meetup.com for a lot of stuff. And when I let people know that I was looking for a job, this was years ago, people immediately asked me, "Oh, what am I looking for?" and tried to match me up with stuff. And before I started going to local tech meetups, I didn't know anyone here. I wasn't from here, and I was really struggling because I wasn't putting myself out there. And I think more people need to take on that initiative and just go out and do things. Speaking of going out and doing things, since I know you've tried a lot of other things, have you been able to try applying to any COVID-19 related grants or loans or things like that? I know you're early stage. How's that impacted your ability to do that?
No, well, since I am so early stage, I don't have employees and I don't make an income from my product as yet. So no, I decided not to participate in any of that and leave that for people that actually have employees and that need the funds more than I do. Although going to those websites kind of feed you into other federal websites that do have money for startup individuals, like the SBIR grants. I mean, that's millions of dollars that the government will give you. I mean, it's a lot. It's a long application process, but nobody's going to give you a couple of $100,000 for not for just saying please. You have to go through the process.
Yeah, you have to go through the process. And I guess what I would say is I've been there in the same thought in the same cycle of thought where it seems like something's not for me and that someone else might really benefit from it if I leave that open for other people. But I would also say always think twice about that because there's going to always be people who don't need these things that are applying that are these bigger companies, and they're taking all the benefits. And when those programs really are designed for people like us that are working on startups and you know, kicking off something new in the local economy. So don't always allow yourself to feel like it ain't for you, because I mean, you're working on something really amazing. And I mean, I always tell people whatever kind of funding you can get is always going to be helpful. But these opportunities are coming and going so quick. It's like
Yeah,
even if you want to apply, they're just here and gone within a
and go
week.
right. Hmm.
It's
I
just
looked
so
at Nightline
fast.
last night, and they said that the LA Lakers received like $4 million. I'm like, what? The LA Lakers? Really? And they're the only one that reported it. I'm sorry, we're off topic. Sorry.
No, I'm no, but that's my point. And that's my point
Yeah.
is there's always gonna be somebody else who's, and a lot of these larger companies are willing to take advantage of these opportunities and take them away from people that are starting up something and could really use the extra funds. So just always think twice about it, because I always tell myself to I always try to check myself, because especially as an underrepresented founder and a woman in entrepreneurship, we don't take enough of the opportunities that are out here for us, and there are a lot of them. So I feel like take advantage of what you can get, um, as long as you're being empathetic and mindful of the situation. There's no harm in it, because
Right.
there's like Shake Shack, I think, took all that money, as well, right? I mean, they gave it
Mm-hmm.
back, but
Yeah.
they took it. They
They
didn't
took it.
really they didn't need it as much as much as other people do. So I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
try to put myself into the shoes of what would a white man do that is a businessman. Sometimes, because I actually had a white male co-founder in my previous company, and what I learned from working with him is that I needed to push myself more outside of my comfort zone, because he would sometimes ask for things that I would just never have thought to ask for, and then
Mm-hmm.
he would make it happen. And I just felt like, oh, okay, like maybe if I put myself out there more, I might benefit from some of these things a little bit more often, than not. And I was really surprised, because he's much more of a risk taker than I was in the first place. And I think they're known to be more heavy risk takers in entrepreneurship than women are. But also, some investors invest in women because we are careful. So there's a little bit of balance. But I think that is one of the benefits I had from having a co-founder in general, was that I was able to be able to learn from how he did stuff, and he was able to learn from how I did stuff. And I think we rubbed off on each other a little bit. And being in an accelerator as a solo founder gives you an opportunity to do some of that, to replace the need for having a team, because you have all of these really interesting people to bounce ideas off of. And I think that in Launch Lane, I've been really impressed with everyone's ability and interest in jumping in to help each other find the answers to their questions during our meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you I guess in switching to virtual, do you feel like you've lost something in those interactions, or do you feel like it's been maintained?
Yeah. Definitely. When you get on especially in the group calls, because normally we would be all around a conference table. And if you ask someone a question, you can read their body language. You can look at how how they respond, or just, I'm very much a people's person. So I like to interact with people and to read their body language. And recently there was a question that I had about advisors, and in the group setting, I could not see this person's response, which I was so hoping to, because I respect them and I wanted to see their response versus hearing the kind of politically correct thing that they said about this person. I'm like, oh well, it would have been great to see their face to get to read the body. So the pandemic has really messed up that. The virtual thing, I hate being on camera because I just don't like being on camera. I never take a good picture out of all of my sisters. I always look like Casper. It's just so I hate being on camera like that. But I know this blog is also helping me because my product will be big one day. I need to learn how to interview. And this is my first official on camera interview. So, and you're very expressive and you're very honest. So it's very comfortable, but I am cringing at the playback because I know I just ramble on.
You're totally fine, because the reason that I'm good at this is that I'm a talker. So I'm always happy when I get another talker on with me, because at least there's a good back and forth, right? And I think that, for I remember the first couple times that I hopped onto video calls and interviews, as a founder and talking about my business. It is a little nerve wracking, and I get anxiety. So I totally get it. But I think you're doing a really great job. And one of the things that we look for, when we look at founders, is presentation ability, right? And I think that you're a really great presenter. I think that you have good energy about you. So I think that's a really important thing. Do you, when you go to events, you said you've done some pitch events, right?
Yes, yes, I have.
How did you prepare for that? How did you prepare to do pitch events? Oh, what is
I
it?
actually
Oh,
won
is that an
one from
award?
Amazon. Yes, I won
Get
the
out.
startup award for Amazon. So yes,
How
yeah.
did you
But
get how did you get yourself ready for that?
practice, practice, practice. I mean, my poor husband used to think there was a third person in this house. I'm walking around just talking to myself the whole way through. Really practice, practice, practice. And you notice when you don't practice, you're off. You're really off your game, So it is one of those things that, when you're brushing your teeth in the morning. Hello, my name is Tyiwanna Carter. My product is the OrVac. Blah 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 blah. It needs to come to you like second nature. So practice, practice, practice. And we all have phones now. Record yourself practicing your pitch. So that's what I did. Every day I practice my pitch. And even now, every day I kind of wake up and, hello, my name is Tyiwanna Carter, blah, 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 and go through the different things because you want to change your pitch for the different audiences. So if you're talking to investors, they may not want to know from everything from A to Z, about your investor. So you have to change it up.
I think that is a really important point. When you're talking to different people, your pitch might change a little bit. And I think a lot of people forget that, and they get prepared for just one type of pitch, and then they're not ready for the questions that they get. So I think that's really cool that you practice every day. I wish I could say that I have that same commitment to practicing my own pitches. But I think that's such important, and I think that's really good advice. If anything, right now, what have you learned from the experience of living through this pandemic, in regards to your business and its growth?
You have to learn how to roll with the punches because it seems like someone is always trying to throw tires in your way and you just have to jump out of the way, move out of the way. Sometimes you get hit with it, but then you just gotta, brush yourself off and keep it moving and try to just solve the next problem. And the pandemic, it has it's thrown our lives out of order. You go through life thinking this thing will happen, and all of a sudden, boom, this this big thing has been thrown in your way. But I also kind of think unfortunately a lot of people have lost their lives with this. But I think a lot of people have now decided to take the time that they need to be with people that they want to be with. Like I lost my grandmother through the pandemic, and we weren't able to visit her before, and we weren't able to go and get her body, so we had to cremate. It was just a big thing. But now that made me conscious that, oh, you know what? When I have the opportunity to pick up that phone and call my other grandmother or my sisters, or I do now, so the pandemic hurt in one way, like I said, hopefully is making life better in another way. And I'm so sorry for anybody that lost a loved one during this time because it's horrible, so but learning how to roll with the punches, and in a business you're going to have to learn that, especially if you're the founder of it. Things are always going to go wrong, and you have to not predict, but you have to know that nothing is perfect. You may have gone and, I'm going to give you $50,000, but you always need to ask, no matter how great that $50,000 is, well, what I got to do for it. So just, yeah, roll with the punches. Roll with the
Yeah,
punches.
because you got to roll with the punches, and you're right. Not really, not much comes for free. So you got to
No.
ask the right questions, and you know, not just be in the right place at the right time, but you got to ask the right questions, and you got to ask for help when you need it, and you got to really put yourself out there. And I mean, I know we talked about, you know, we've talked about loss in some of our back and forth messages and things, and I know it's just a hard time for everybody. Having lost my uncle and going through the same thing, not being able to go to the funeral because it's in upstate New York and it's socially distanced, and it's difficult to deal with loss while you're also running a business, while you're also trying to be creative and stay focused and keep things moving. And especially if you have other family members that you're trying to take care of as well, right? I mean, the OrVac was all about improving your mother's life, right?
Hmm.
Improving her quality of life where it's at. And I think that it's, you know, when you're focused on self-care and making space to, you know, to not just roll with the punches, but to allow yourself time to process what you're going through. I think it also makes you a stronger leader, going down the road. This is a tough time for all of us, tougher for some of us than for others. But I think it's through these kinds of events in life that we learn something, we grow from it, and then, you know, we get better. We
Yeah.
do, you know, we get stronger. So
Hmm.
I like your positive attitude about things too, and I think it's infectious. I think people need to, you know, people need to allow that kind of positive energy and advice to come through and really absorb it, because it's hard to, I think it is hard to have that kind of attitude. I think that you're you're fortunate to be able to kind of lean into rolling with the punches
Hmm.
when a lot of
Hmm.
people just don't have it in them to do that. What do you do anything for work life balance? What
I wake
what
up
kind of
every
stuff
day
do
and
you do to take care of yourself?
when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is thank you, God. I choose to be happy, and God knows there's a lot of things that can make you miserable. But honestly, I really do believe that you say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get that down. My stepmother-in-law, I call her my steppy, my other mother, my mom. She has a thing. What I didn't cause it, can't cure it. Cause it, cure. It's the three C's. She didn't create it, but look, it's nothing I can do, so there's no reason for me to be miserable of it. Then my cat has a thing. My husband kisses me on the forehead, and he wakes me up every morning to know that I got my kiss. So so before he goes off to work, which is, yeah, it's weird, but that's our thing. And then once my eyes are open, I swear my cat sees the whites of my eyes, and she comes and sits on my chest. How can you be bad at that? So that's my work life balance, is time with my husband. Oh, and we love the Wii. And we're not talking about the new Wii, the one with the hands, the old Wii. The one that you play the tennis and the baseball with. So that's my work life balance, is to do that. And it's broken. I had three. I'm on my third one now because they don't make them anymore. So you have to go to eBay to find them when they break. So that's my work life balance. My cat, my husband, and Wii games. So
Those Wii games were real fun. I have a PlayStation 4, and I've been playing with the VR headset. Was one of the
oh,
first things that I decided to do when the
uh-huh.
pandemic kicked off, because I was like, I need to feel like I'm going somewhere. Like I can't, like this is too much. And I like the physical games too.
Yeah,
I didn't know that the older Wii's weren't in production anymore. So that's a good tip for anybody who wants to get one. I do think
yeah.
that family time and fun, you know, you need to have a little bit of both, and you can't be all work all the time. You gotta make sure that the stuff that you're working for, you're also making space for at that time. Because I know for me personally, one of the reasons why I came into entrepreneurship was that I wanted to be able to have the privilege and the ability to spend more time with my family. But what I realized over time was I was putting all my time into work, and I wasn't giving myself any family time. I was actually losing family time because you don't know when you're going to have a loss. And this pandemic really has taught me a lot more about that too, that I need to just get up and do the things that I've wanted to do now. Don't wait. Spend time with my family. Don't wait. Go on the trips that I want to go on. Not right now, but when this
Right.
passes, because I ain't getting on a plane anytime soon. But
I know.
speaking of the things I want to do, when this passes, what are you most forward to looking, or what are you looking forward to doing when we can reemerge from our homes?
Hugging. I mean, I'm gonna give my mother the biggest hug. My mom, my stepmother. I mean, I want to touch people again. We're big huggers in my family. And unfortunately, my father had a stroke just before the new year and got out of the hospital just before the pandemic hit. And so just to be, and he's compromised. He's had a kidney transplant in the past, so he's very compromised. So we've only seen each other like long. So I just want to wrap my arms around him and give him the biggest fat hug. And we have a thing that he always kisses me right there and says, "Who love you, baby?" So I want that so much.
I feel you on that. My mom actually had one of her kidneys removed a couple of years back, and she has lupus, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't been able to go, even really consider seeing my parents anytime soon. So I feel you on that. Just being able to go and see your loved ones and give somebody a hug is something I'm looking forward to, and being able to get back into IC 3401 and the Science Center as a whole, going to Quorum and working out of there where the bright sunshine comes through, and getting my cup of coffee, checking out what's happening in CIC. I mean, that's one of the things that I miss the most is
Mm,
having access to the innovation hub on a day-to-day basis, and lots of movers and shakers are within those few blocks. We got Drexel right in between, and Penn, and it's just so nice to be over there. It's refreshing,
yeah.
and I can't wait to be able to do that again. And last but not least, I want to know, what's your superpower?
I know this. My superpower is curiosity. Curiosity, I think, is the spark of invention. You just want to figure out how things work. And so I think my superpower is curiosity.
I mean, I could tell that just from the beginning of this conversation that curiosity is definitely one of your superpowers. And I can't wait to see what you invent next, because I'm sure that the OrVac is not the last thing that you're going to be working on. And I'm also looking forward to seeing what future iterations are like and all that. How can how can anyone who's interested in learning about you and the OrVac find out about it?
Well, we have our website up. It is www. Oh, I know. You have to say www anymore.
Go for it.
So,
You could say what start where you feel like it.
so www dot the orvac, and that's ORVAC.com is up. Or you can email at ask at theorvac.com. And I'm open and willing to answer all questions. And I love talking about the product. And I'm looking forward. I can't believe this is over with so far. I was so nervous about this interview, and now it's almost over. So,
It's quick. It's easy. I try to keep it, painless and all that, because I mean, we already have enough difficult stuff to deal with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, these conversations with the cohort have been really fun for me so far, and I think you'll be surprised at some of the discussions, actually, because and I dropped this in my talk with Amber Lee the other day as well. I mean, we've got a tango dancer in the group. We've got people who have experience with mental health and research, and just just all kinds of really cool things within this cohort. And not to mention just diversity overall, and having people from all ends of the spectrum, as far as age, race, gender, be a part, and identity, be a part of this group, has been really exciting, for us on the team. So I just look forward to hearing the rest of hearing the rest of what the other people I talk to have to say too. And
Yeah.
I hope that whoever's listening to this, takes a chance to go look at the other videos as they get posted as well, because all of you are really impressive and working on just really cool stuff. Not just cool, impactful, meaningful projects. So thank you for doing what you do. And you know what? I also want to ask, just to be sure, uh, are you looking? What are you looking for in people reaching out? Are you looking for partners? Are you looking for funding? Right now is a really good time to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. The next stage of our process is finding ear, nose, and throat doctors and speech therapists to come and join the team or as advisors. I'm always looking for funding, but not all money is good money. So we will be asking a lot of questions about any kind of funding coming through. But that's the point that I'm at now. I really want to test this product with ear, nose, and throat doctors and speech therapists. My mother's nursing facility will open up and let me give out a few to the residents there, and we have testing to do the testing. But to hear the professionals' point of view about it would be nice. So that's what I'm looking for is advisors.
All right. Well, they heard it here, so go out and contact contact Tyiwanna and learn about the OrVac. Give her some money and help this project get get out there. Thanks again, and I'm looking forward to listening back to this.
Thank you so much, Liz. You are such a pleasure. Thank you. Bye, Nestor. So,